showing you a day in the life of what it is to cover a great peace conference, the Madrid Peace Conference. We're at the press center now where people are getting their credentials to cover this great event. As usual, things are a little bit messy and things are not as scheduled, but I guess they'll get along. It's mañana, but maybe half mañana today. In any case, they have extraordinary measures here, both for security and for the press. Here is maps and guides and all kinds of paraphernalia that they give us so that we should feel comfortable and give it the best possible spin for the conference itself. Spain wants its own spin. The Israelis want their spin. A spin means that they want their story told in the best fashion. There are rumors that the reason the Palestinians agreed to the concept of having the delegates that are here represent them and then have an advisory group behind them was to try and tell the world what the Palestinians really mean, what should be the cause of the Palestinians, so that they get worldwide publicity. And there's no doubt about it, they will get worldwide publicity. There was a snag yesterday between Israel and the Palestinian Jordanian delegation. The Jordanians are together with the Palestinians, and there was a snag as to how much time would be allotted to each one. And Zalman Shoval, the ambassador from Israel to the United States, complained that there should not be 45 minutes given to the Palestinian delegate and 45 minutes to the Jordanian delegate. We don't know how that worked out yet, but we do know one thing. Prime Minister Shamir is in town, so that was not enough snag to keep him de-snagged in Israel. He's met already. This is 6 o'clock Spanish time, which is 12 o'clock your time, on a Tuesday, October 30th. And he has already met with the Spanish foreign minister, and there's a normal tumult that's going around. The crucial issues, as I see it, are the Golan Heights. How are the Israelis going to make an accommodation on the Golan Heights, and how will Syria make an accommodation on the Golan Heights? One must remember that President Assad of Syria is a minority ruler. He does not control the majority of the people of Syria. And if he gives in on his end, he could fall, and that's one thing Assad does not want to do. On the other hand, Prime Minister Shamir is in a very tough spot. There are 11,000 residents, or 11, maybe 17,000, somewhere between 11 and 17,000 people who live around the Golan Heights areas. As one senior minister said to me yesterday, I don't think we should give up peace for 17,000 people. I'm not sure that's a reflection of the entire Israeli delegation today, but there are talks like that. An interesting thing that has come about is we've just landed from Israel, and the people in Israel are very, very mixed about what should happen at this peace conference. There is, however, an undertone of weariness. They're tired of killing, they're tired of wars, and if I were to take a guess and do a sample poll, I would say 60 or 70% of the people are pretty excited about the fact that there is this peace conference. Israel and the Middle East will never be the same from this day. Mark the time. It's 6 o'clock, as I told you before, October 30th, 1991. Nothing can go backwards. You may have explosions at this peace conference. They may walk out. You may have all kinds of problems. But I tell you that in the opinion of this report, nothing will ever be the same. You'll have seen Syrians and Israelis sitting at the same table, Palestinians and Israelis sitting at the same table, Lebanese and Israelis at the same table. Things will never be the same. The second problem is what to do with the Palestinians. And what has happened is that since the Gulf War, there's a feeling that the Palestinians are losing. And one of the crucial errors, I think, that Arafat made, Chairman Arafat of the PLO, was that he sided with Saddam Hussein and Iraq. And that, in a sense, put him in a very weak position. And the moderate Palestinians, of whom there are many, felt it is better to get half a bag than a whole loaf. They don't talk about destroying the state of Israel now. They are talking about autonomy. They are talking about associations and confederations with Jordan. No one knows what's going to happen. You're going to stay tuned to this report. You will know what happened before from the news reports. We'll tell you how it happened if you stay tuned to us. So we'll be back in a minute.
think about fears now. I don't feel any fears.
Hopes.
Is there anything that would stop the momentum of the peace talks now?
Are you optimistic, sir?
If the Arabs will behave themselves like we, there are many chances.
How do you see your job, Mr. Prime Minister? What is your job as you go into these first ever talks
Well,
with
to
Arabs?
protect the Israeli interests and to strive for peace.
Mr. Charney, why did you accept the 45 minutes additional speech?
Okay, thank you very much.
You can understand that the security measures here are intensive. I have never seen anything like it. We have been all over the world, as we said to you before. Well, we've been in Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Moscow, and I myself was in Camp David. This is similar to Camp David. The fact that so many heads of state are converging to one city, all you see is helicopters, guns, soldiers, and horses. You see a lot of horsemen. What a horseman can do if there's I have no idea. But this is Spain, and anything can happen in Spain. We'll be back. Don't leave us. This is exciting, intensive, and maybe, hopefully, peaceful.
Abandon mutual fear and mistrust.
I am sure I speak for every man, woman, and child in Israel who join me in the hope that, after all, this gathering will be registered in history as a turning point to coexistence and peace.
Jay Bashinsky. Jay, when are we going to get peace?
Well, I think Mr. Charney is 100% right. Things will never be the same in the Middle East, no matter what happens here, because the talking has started.
The whale can't go back.
Absolutely not.
A friend of mine, a minister, used to be a minister, his name is E.W., spoke with me this morning and said he's very optimistic that ultimately something really will occur.
I think that the taboos have been broken. The whole bugaboo about sitting down together and talking out the dispute, all that's over now.
Got to remind the audience that Jay was on the other side of the road in Camp David. He was interviewing me, finding out whether there was going to be a peace, and now we're together. Life changes, and Jimmy Carter's in planes. I'm Leon Charney. This is the Leon Charney Report, welcoming you to Madrid, Spain, the site of the 1991 Middle East Peace Conference, which will bring Israelis and Arabs together for the first time in the history of each of their states. By that we mean the Syrians and the Lebanese, the Jordanians, the Palestinians, and the Israelis. The place is agog with press, media, and security. But there is an excitement that is coming about through all of the city. One can sense that something is going on. As one of our friends said, this will never reverse itself. Israel will never be the same. The Middle East will never be the same. This is the creation of Bismarck and Baker, Gorbachev and Bush, and everybody's here to attend except Bismarck. He's been replaced by Penkin. This evening, which is October 30th, 1991 at 6:30 Spanish time, Mr. Shamir, the Prime Minister of Israel, will probably be meeting with Mr. Gorbachev. President Bush has already had lunch with Gorbachev. The question is how strong Gorbachev is. That's another problem. We can't do everything for you in 1 hour, but we'll get to that. We'll return in a minute after commercial break to follow the Madrid Peace Conference 1991. This is Leon Charney, and guess where I am? In the Madrid Middle East Peace Conference Center. It is unbelievable. I have never seen anything like this. I have been at Camp David, I have been in Scuds, I have been in Russia, I have been all over the place. This is unbelievable. Every journalist, every reporter has a desk and a computer, a typewriter ready to file his stories. This is the Super Bowl of media coverage. Massive screens delineating every event that is happening so people don't miss 1 ounce of news, showing them exactly what's happening at all times. But what a massive undertaking. The Spanish people have really proven themselves here. Telephone centers, telex centers, color televisions. Huge screens. It looks like a science fiction movie. Even Elliot Rose, my producer, has never seen anything like this, and he's been through everything. Wars, peace. When we went in to receive our press credentials, we were told there were approximately 5,000 people here accredited to cover this event, which is probably the most momentous event of the decade. We were here during Camp David. It smells like Camp David. It feels like Camp David, but there is no Anwar Sadat who's made a dramatic move yet. It's sort of wobbling and toddling, but we don't know what is happening. But people are here from China, from Japan, from Taiwan, from Bahrain, from Saudi Arabia, from Kenya, from Mauritania. You figure a place on earth, and they are sure to be here. Are the Japanese people interested in this story?
Yeah, I hope so.
Depends what happens to the yen. In Japan, a lot happens with the yen. If it goes up or down, right?
Yeah.
If there's peace, the yen is stronger. If there's war, sometimes less, because Japan has no oil.
Yeah, that's right.
That's why you're very interested in the Middle East. Look how I figured it out, and I'm from America.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, nice to meet you, and I hope Japan finds oil and the countries around Japan have peace. Who do you work for in Yugoslavia?
Radio Belgrade.
Do you believe that the influence of this peace conference will affect Yugoslavia?
Well, in one way, yes.
How?
Well, perhaps it will show us that the negotiation is the only way to solve the problem. It's not possible.
Good point. What this conference will show is that mediation really pays and not war. Hopefully no more killings. And the grand plan of the Madrid Peace Conference is that all nations can come together, work out these disputes through mediation, without killing, without war, without guns. Yugoslavia may learn that lesson from this peace conference. It's called an ancillary benefit. Thank you. We just interviewed a lady reporter from Yugoslavia who brought out a very interesting point. She said the real purpose of this conference will show that war doesn't pay anymore, that people can mediate all their disputes through peace conferences and through parleys. You agree?
Yes, but I don't know why...
Italy, nobody fights except the mafia anyway. How are you going to mediate the mafia?
But between mafia and Yugoslavian fighting, there is a big difference, I think.
Is this a big story in Italy tomorrow?
No, the same.
Page one?
All the same. Page one, mafia, of course.
This is Leon Charney at the Madrid Conference Center, the Middle East Conference Center, talking to not a reporter, but Eric Goldstein, who's here with the Middle East Watch. What is the Middle East Watch, Eric?
Middle East Watch is a nonpartisan, independent organization based in New York that monitors human rights from Morocco through to Iran.
So you're very interested in the human rights aspects of what this peace conference will produce?
Well, right now we're interested in why it's not on the agenda explicitly, as it was in the talks in Ethiopia earlier this year, and in the Central American Peace Accords, in the Helsinki process. We think there's a vital link between respect for human rights by all parties and regional stability.
Why do you think it's not on the agenda?
Well, we think that each of these parties has an interest in human rights, and they talk about their own narrowly defined human rights, the rights of the Palestinians on the one side, and Israel's concerns about terrorism and also about Syrian Jews. What we want to get is the participants to recognize that they have an interest in respect for human rights throughout the region, in Lebanon, Syria, the occupied territories, Israel, Jordan, the whole area. There's no reason why the Middle East should be exempted from this.
Have you tried to get yourselves on the agenda?
We're lobbying hard with the various delegations. We want to talk to Palestinian leadership. We've been critical of the killings of suspected collaborators in the occupied territories. This is a concern of ours. We're lobbying the Israelis. We're trying to have meetings with the Syrians on this subject. We want to see them on the agenda when these people make their opening speeches.
You know, there was a terrible incident last night in Israel. 2 civilians in Ariel, which is one of the new settlement towns, and I think 13 or 14 civilians were injured on their way to a peace march. What does that do to this conference?
Well, it really depends on how the different sides take it and how strongly attacks on civilians are condemned by the participants and how determined Israel is to move ahead and get beyond this incident and not satisfy those people who carried out this attack who wish to thwart this conference.
Who funds your organization?
We're funded mainly by large foundations in the United States, like the Ford Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation. We accept no money from any government or any government-sponsored body.
So it's strictly foundation work and human rights.
It's just human rights.
I think Jimmy Carter should be honorary chairman. I noticed that Gary Sick is chairman.
That's right.
Gary Sick is, for you, those of you who do not know, has come out or is coming out with a book talking about the possibility of the Republicans dabbling with hostages on the day that Jimmy Carter lost the election. Am I correct?
That's a Gary Sick book and not a Middle East Watch book.
All right, we won't put Eric on trial here, but we promise to tell the audience about what Gary's trying to do, and that is to make sure that every country in the world has human rights. It's part of the human race. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, man.
A way must be found to send signals of peace and reconciliation that affect the peoples of the region. Don't wait for the other side to start. Each of you needs to get off the mark and get off of it quickly.
This is Leon Charney. You have just heard President George Bush address the Madrid Peace Conference in Madrid. Crucial things said by President Bush were that Israel would have to make some kind of territorial compromise, not Israel itself, but the process would include a territorial compromise. He made no reference whatsoever to a Palestinian state. What you're going to see here is an interim state of autonomy and then full recognition of what the permanent status of the Palestinian people will be. His speech was in broad strokes, allowing each side to feel that they would have something to gain and something to lose, which is exactly what negotiations are. Having participated myself in Camp David, the rhetoric sounded familiar, and basically what is going to happen is backdoor channeling will probably bring about this arrangement. If there will be any arrangements, will take years to come. Basically what you have seen on television is a product of Camp David. It's 5 years overdue, but it was called for in the Camp David agreements that the Palestinians would have autonomy and would have self-determination after a period of 5 years, sort of a cooling off period. The magic of today's historic meeting is the fact that Shamir, the Prime Minister of Israel, is sitting directly across from the Jordanian-Palestinian delegation and also from the Syrian delegation, and that the 4 or 5 countries at war with Israel today are absolutely at peace. It is my impression and my sole impression that the United States is going to be more than an honest broker. They're going to be a cajoler, a mover, a shaker. It's the United States and George Bush that is going to call the game. And his speech is probably the most important event of the entire peace conference because he set out the guidelines. If you're going to play Monopoly, he's Parker Brothers. He's the guy who's telling you how you're going to play the game. As President Bush stated in his address, in 1945, no one would believe that Japan and Germany and the United States would be together. Nobody believed that the wall of Berlin would break down. No one believed that Russia would participate in a Middle East Peace Conference, that Henry Kissinger used all his guts and might during '73, during the interim agreement, to keep Russia out of the Soviet Union, out of peace agreements with the Middle East. That in 1979, when Camp David was a successful venture, no Russian was there. The Russians were on the other side. A little aside to that was when I interviewed Foreign Minister Bismarck, the ex-Foreign Minister of the Soviet Union. He told me one of the reasons he allowed me to interview him is he was anxious to meet me because he had read about me and he was working against me during Camp David. Things have all changed. No one sitting at the conference today at this table is really the ruler of his own destiny, no matter what George Bush says, because the Americans will really set forth what the guidelines are, and they will push and cajole and not stop. You have two tough Texans in George Bush and Jim Baker, and they do not want to lose. We're staying at the hotel here. This is the Palace Hotel with the American delegation. There's a bit of tenseness in the American delegation because they want to make sure that everything goes straight and soft and nice and easy, although they expect interruptions, disruptions, eruptions. There will be a tremendous amount of litany against the Israelis for what they have done to the Palestinian people, and you can expect that Shamir, when he addresses the assemblage here, will say the same about the Arabs. So it's going to be a very, very important jostling for positioning, and basically everybody is positioning for the United States. This is the hallmark and the basic cornerstone of what the Mideast Peace Conference is in Madrid. Could well have been in the White House. Why they picked Madrid? Probably because it's a very fascinating place where the three religions have really had great participation, both Christian, Muslim, and Jew, for the past 500 years, and I think this is a very symbolic reason why Madrid was chosen. We will be back after commercial break. We are going to diary for you this event, this Middle East Conference. We turn now to listen to President Mikhail Gorbachev of the Soviet Union. How much union he has left, we're not sure, but that's another problem we'll attack on another day. Continuing our diary in Madrid, we're now at the Middle East Peace Conference Press Center, and it is the aftermath of President George Bush and Mikhail Gorbachev's speech, their blessing, so to speak, to the peace conference. We discussed some of the factors that we believe were important by George Bush, and now we're going to go inside and see what other countries, probably 100 countries, are spitting out millions and millions of words all over the world to find out what President Bush really meant by his speech and what President Gorbachev meant by his. It should be an interesting feeling to see how different perspectives come about from different countries. Inside here is the Israeli Press Center, where they're trying to make a positive spin on exactly what is happening here. From the Scuds to Madrid. Yossi Olmert. Yossi, what do you say to American television today?
What do I say? I say that it is an important event, very significant. We are all very excited. You see, I'm 41 years old. The state is, 43 and a half years old? It's about time to make peace.
Israel's most famous man, Nachman Shai from Scud Time. Ranan Gisson was second. We'll bring him on later. Oh. Nachman, you were a hero spokesman during the Scuds. Mm-hmm. The major magazines in Israel called you the most popular man in Israel. The Scuds indirectly affected the fact that there is a peace conference today.
Yeah, which I somehow feel personally involved, because I was there when it all happened in January, February this year. It was not 10 years ago. And at the end of the year, no one really expected the political process start moving, and this is what really makes us very, very helpful.
Do you think that the fact that Gorbachev has lost some of his power puts a lot of the ball in the United States court?
it is helpful on the other hand, it is disturbing on the other hand, because we still believe that our special relationship with the United States should pay off in the course of the negotiation, and I'm not sure it has been proved so far. But I still believe that the United States knows very well who is the real friend or the real friends of the United States in the Middle East, and that's first and more the state of Israel.
The problem that Americans have today is they're beginning to be told by the Congress that there's no need to be a strategic ally. Israel need not be a strategic ally anymore because there are no superpower conflicts. And you as a military person, how do you explain that?
I think that we've been already shown quite a number of examples of American naivety, like in Iran at the time, and even with Iraq, and even with Syria. And you always viewed yourself that this is a country that you can deal with or discuss important things, and then you realize that a few years later there's a change, and then you lost whatever you invested there. With Israel, you can't lose. Whatever you do with Israel, it's an investment for many, many years. And I think that the United States knows very well when it comes to that very moment when you need a friend in the Middle East, Israel will be always there to help.
Nachman, there is a threat this morning by somebody in Iran. Have you heard about it?
No.
That anybody, it was brought on CNN, anybody who participates in the peace conference is going to be executed. Sort of a Salman Rushdie threat. You didn't hear about it?
No, but I don't expect Gorbachev, Bush, Shamir, and the rest of them to disappear now for the rest of their life, because the Iranians will be looking for them. And it is, again, another proof that we deal with a very fragile situation, a very fragile area where threats like that can be heard and sometimes even be accomplished. And we have to be aware of that.
Nachman, the effect of the Scuds on Israel today, the population, any effect?
Yes, no doubt about that. We know that we should and we will have to stop the Scuds or any kind of missiles from being fallen into our populated areas. That means that on the one hand we have to take or to invest money on developing measures against incoming missiles and to kill them either on the ground or on the way. And on the other hand, what we are doing now is to go on a peace process. This is a double effort that we are engaging.
Okay, Nachman, good to see you. Now head of Channel 2, Israeli Second Television, out of uniform, but still as lovable as ever.
Thank you very much.
We're here with Raanan Gissin, who is a colonel in the Israeli army, but not working as a colonel today. Millions, billions of people saw his voice during the Scuds. This is sort of a reunion of Scud time. We had Nachman Shai, who was the IDF spokesman, and Raanan Gissin, who was the press relations officer to the foreign press. And on the 16th floor of the Hilton Hotel in Tel Aviv, you saw Raanan Gissin briefing people as to where the Scuds of the Patriots were moving. In any case, he's here today with the Foreign Ministry. Raanan, George Bush made a speech 20 minutes ago, and Mikhail Gorbachev did also. Your opinion?
Well, I'd say that we view the speech with guarded optimism. We believe that what was said in the speech was very important. But more important was what was not said in the speech. And what it amounts to is the acceptance of the principle which for the past 43 years we've been fighting and dreaming of, and that is direct bilateral negotiations between Israel and its Arab neighbors. And I think that has been established unequivocally in the speech, and therefore I view it with guarded optimism. I also think that the speech displayed the depth of commitment of the United States and President Bush to this process, and I only wish and hope that the Arab leaders who are joining in this peace process will have the same depth of commitment to the process as we have and as President Bush displayed in his speech.
How did you feel when you saw Shamir facing the Syrians at the same table, the Jordanians and the Palestinians?
I think it's a beginning of an uncharted road. In other words, we are starting an uncharted road, and I think Shamir and everyone, as a matter of fact, in the Israeli delegation, is really committed to this road, despite the fact that we don't know what lies ahead. But at least we believe that if the modalities that have been established will be implemented, in other words, direct bilateral negotiations in the region, that will be the best confidence-building measure that would eventually lead to signed peace treaties with our Arab neighbors. The fact that our delegation is here is because they are heeding the prayers of those mothers who have lost sons in the 5 wars that we fought, of those who have sent sons to defend the state of Israel today, and of those who have yet unborn children, which will have someday to go to the army, and they really don't want them to fight. I believe that if the Arab leaders heed the prayers of Arab mothers, the Middle East will be a much better place to live, both for the Syrians, for the Israelis, for the Jordanians, and for the Palestinians.
2 things that my president said, George Bush, that number one, he saw territorial compromise as one of the elements of the process, and number 2, he didn't declare for a Palestinian state. So you have sort of a balance here.
Yeah, I believe all along the concept of territorial compromise was not something that we rejected offhand. As a matter of fact, if you look back, we gave 91% of the territories we occupied to Egypt for peace. But there was a difference. There was strategic depth there and a depth of commitment that President Sadat displayed, which today the leaders of the Arab world are yet to prove that they have the same depth of commitment. But we said all along, once we have direct bilateral negotiations, everything can be laid on the table. And I think if there is a commitment to peace on both sides, and I can assure that the Israeli side has that commitment, then we can reach an agreement.
When Sadat visited Jerusalem, everybody was excited. I don't know where you were, but as an American, I was excited. There was not the same feeling today. This was sort of a calculated conference that Shamir was pushed into.
Well, I'm not sure that Shamir was pushed into this conference. If anyone pushed him into the conference, it's his, as I said, his commitment to the Israeli mothers and to the prayer of the Israeli people that eventually, finally, will reach a point where we can start a peace process and end the state of war. This is the greatest push that was added to Israel. But I think we are committed to this process because clearly whether one has right-wing inclination, left-wing inclinations, this is something that is inscribed on our DNA code as a people, as a nation. And therefore, we are willing to take the risks to go for this peace process. Of course, we want to ensure that while we play this game, and for us it's a deadly game because we can't make any mistakes, while we play this game, we can ensure the Israel's security for future generations. Because in the Middle East, one thing is clear. You cannot have peace without security. Security has to come first, and we have a good example from the Gulf War and the predicament of Kuwait. When there is security between the nations of the Middle East, there will also be a peace.
There you have it, realistic and optimistic. Raanan Gisson, a hero spokesman of the Scud War, where we were all together, Ahmed Shai, Raanan Gisson, and the Liad Charney report. Now he's in civilian clothes, and I don't have a tie. But an excellent spokesman, and we hope his words come true.
Thank you.
Ministry of Information?
No, I'm from the television, Syrian television channel.
Oh, are you allowed to speak to American television?
Yes.
Okay, good. Can we interview you for a few minutes? Yes. We're talking to Yarash Tara from Syrian television. I'll call you Yara, Miss Yara?
Yes, Miss Yara.
You just heard George Bush, my president, speak. What do you think?
Well, I think it was a wonderful speech. I mean, the way he summarized everything in 20 minutes, it was wonderful, especially the one about peace. And he was right, absolutely right, when he said that peace will take a long time, and we Arabs know for sure that it will take a long time. But also our conflict with Israel has been for a long time, so it's not really easy. But for a beginning, there's everything. Everything has a beginning, and this is our first step towards peace. And we're going to try hard, but the Israeli party must also try very hard.
Isn't it interesting that the Israelis are sitting next to you here?
Well, they always, I mean, for up to now, about 3 or 4 Israelis have come to me and say, you don't treat us like we're your enemies. Well, I tell them they're not our enemies. I mean, if you think that you're our enemies, then you think that you're doing something wrong. I'm treating you like a human being. I mean, we're both human beings. We have been raised up in different environments. I'm fighting for what I think is right, and you're fighting for what you think is right. But history will show which one of us is right, like it has always done. And I don't blame them for hating us. But at the same time, I'm speaking for myself. I don't hate them. I'm just talking as a human being, and we only want what is right for the ours. That's all. I mean,
President Bush said that there would be territorial compromise, or called for it. And as you know, President Bush is sort of the king of the world today.
Yeah.
Your godfather, the Russians, are not in very good shape. They were the ones that were really helping you along. When we had this Middle East problem, or still have a problem, there was a split. The United States was basically helping Israel, and Syria was being helped by the Soviet Union. Now the United States seems much closer to Syria. President Assad is getting along very well with George Bush and Jim Baker.
There has ever been a time that we weren't really close to the United States of America. I mean, America up till now has showed no offense, as from my point of view, I think. But so does Russia. I mean, although the situation in Russia now is very difficult, but I don't know. But I don't think there's any change between the Syrian and the United States of America relations, the American relations.
What's your opinion about the Golan Heights?
It's ours.
It's yours.
It's ours, and we'll get it back someday. It's ours.
That's a fundamental.
This is what we've came here for. We don't want anything else. We haven't come here to discuss any territorial claims. This land is ours.
And you want it back?
It's our right. Our rights as Syrians, our rights as Arabs, and as human beings.
Suppose we can arrange a lease for 100 years.
You mean up to from 100 years from now? Well, at least we're trying our best. That's it. We're not just sitting around waiting for peace to come to us. We're fighting for it.
Your gut feeling, you think 2-3 years from now something positive will come out of this?
I hope so. I hope so.
And what do you think will happen to the Palestinians?
I mean, what they're doing now is one hell of a job. They're fighting for their lives. I mean, they've sat down for a long time, they've sat still, and now they've raised their voice high through the Intifada, as you know. And that, I think that's one of the most heroic actions they've ever done. They're sick and tired of people playing around with them. They want what is theirs. They've had enough of injustice. I don't know. It's about time they got what was theirs, and they're fighting for it. I mean, they are saying what they want through the Intifada.
Are you meeting with Israelis here sometimes?
Yes, I see them from now and then. They come to us, they film our room, we film theirs. Everything's normal.
It's the ping-pong diplomacy that started in China, went on to Camp David, and here we have, I can't pronounce your name correctly.
Yara.
Yara. I'm going to call you Yara, that's enough. She's obviously a wonderful woman. What else could she be if she's, well, we're not going to get chauvinistic here, but she has her feelings, the Israelis have their feelings. The object of the exercise is to get those both feelings to coalesce, to come together, so that her brother or her son does not have to die in a war, and the same with the Israelis.
Exactly.
Thanks for coming on, Yara.
Thank you.
Palestinian delegation. Yes, yes. Go ahead.
Un momento.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. I'm coming, police. I'm coming. Wait a minute. I'm responsible for the press office.
Red one. Excuse me.
Come on.
We're back. We're on television now with the head of the Kuwaiti news agency, a very important man. A year ago, he wasn't sure he had a country. Today, he's got his country back. How do you feel about that?
I feel relaxed that the Kuwait is back, and that now that the legal government is gone back, and now we're in the course of rebuilding our country.
Noah, is that your name?
Nawaf.
Noah, you must have a tremendous emotional mix. When I was in Desert Storm, we covered it for our report. There was tremendous anger by the Bahrainis, by the Kuwaitis, about the fact that the PLO who really took your money, ran like thieves, and then they betrayed you.
Well, I can speak about the leadership of the Palestine Liberation Organization. They betrayed our cause, that's for sure. They are people who were victim of the same sort. They were victim of occupation, and they supported an aggressor. And I don't see how can we reach a point where we can reconcile at this point.
I think that's a very crucial point that very few people understand. They were funded by, I have very close friendships in Bahrain, and Saudi Arabians were very upset about it. These people were really fed by you and funded by you, and then they turned their backs. And today they're trying to get the sympathy of the world, but people forget what happened, the leadership, what happened with their leadership. So do you think a new leadership will develop?
I would imagine so. I think today we see the rise of a new Palestinian leadership. Yasser Arafat will remain a symbol for
symbolic.
But I think the action is going to be taken in the hands of these new leaders like Faisal Husseini, Hanan Ashrawi, who just talked to the press. They are much more charismatic. They know the West better, and they can score better points than he does.
What's your feeling about Israel?
At this point, unfortunately, we find that the Israeli leadership is stiffening its position concerning this conflict. For us, we were people under occupation at one time, and we were people without a country for 7 months. We can understand how the Palestinians feel. But as for the Israelis, unfortunately, they did not come up with a leader who can courageously come and sit and talk peace with the rest. I saw Shamir's interview with CBS this morning, and it was a setback, I think.
Why? What did he say?
Well, he refused the concept of land for peace, and you cannot have peace without giving land. And if you don't want to give any concessions, then why come here?
George Bush called for territorial compromise. What do you think that means?
Well, that should be on the part of the Israelis, because the Palestinians got nothing to give.
Your feeling about this whole conference, is it meaningful?
It is. It is. For me, it's important because as long as there is dialogue, there won't be any guns firing. Maybe there's acts of terrorism here and there, but at least there won't be major wars. And I don't think neither the Arab nor the Israelis are capable of launching a major war at this point. They have no choice but to sit down and talk peace.
You sending love letters to Saddam Hussein yet?
No.
Thank you, Saddam.
Thank you. No.